Now that you correctly defined your site within Dreamweaver, on the right hand side in the Files panel you see the actual folder for your site and the images. So there's nothing there now. We will start by creating your first home page, so the index.html file. You'll do that by going to File, New, and choosing HTML and None as your default layout. So again, that's HTML and None as the default layout. Go ahead and hit Create. Alright, so when you do that, you have a blank canvas for you to do whatever you want. The first thing that we'll do is add a table to the site. So that table is going to break up the site. Part of it's going to contain the banner image for the site. Another row of that table might contain the navigation bar. Then maybe a third row might contain the content. And then maybe a fourth row, maybe copyright information. So I'm going to click on Insert Table up in the Common Tools. And this is not going to contain 6 rows. This will probably be anywhere from 3 to 5 rows depending on the content that you plan on adding. So I'm just going to type in 3 for now. It's going to be 1 column. The width has to match the banner width, and that's 750 pixels. I'm going to delete anything that I have there for border thickness. Cell padding I'm going to put 0, and cell spacing I'm also going to put 0. Where it says header, I'm going to choose none, because if I actually choose left, top, or both, it's going to give predefined bold and centered headings for those cells, and I do not want any of that. I'm going to do that manually myself. So once you've defined 3 rows, 1 column, 750 width, 0 and 0 for cell padding and spacing, we are good to go. Go ahead and click OK. Alright, so you have a table which is left justified by default. It is also selected by default within Dreamweaver. The first thing that I would do is click on the Properties Inspector at the very bottom here and choose Center instead of Default. That way, from the get-go, it is aligned to the center of your page. Okay, in the very first cell, so make sure your cursor is in the first cell, we're going to click on Inserting an image placeholder, since we haven't actually downloaded or obtained the actual image file for the banner. So click on Image Placeholder. Okay, the name of this is probably going to be Banner. The width again is going to be 750. The height for our banner image is 280 pixels. And lastly, the alt text is also going to be Banner. Go ahead and click OK. Alright, so when you do that, a banner image gets inserted into your page. When we actually obtain the real banner image, we'll just do a quick replacing of that. The next thing that is probably going to go in the second row is your site nav. So your site navigation bar, except that this time around we're not going to do normal text navigation. We're going to insert a rollover navigation instead. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that, since I'll create that in just a moment here. The third row is probably going to be for content, so I might say content goes here, ... and then some fake content for now. Okay, you get the idea. Make sure that you give your page a title so that it does not say Untitled Document. This specific example that I'm using is from one of your designs. So this is from 91 Design for Kids, and then after that I might add a keyword, maybe children's hip clothing, I don't know, something along those lines. If this were a storefront in Seattle, I might put Seattle children's hip clothing. Okay, so I've given the page a title and I'm ready to save this page. So go ahead and hit Save As. So make sure, if by chance you're saving to any folder other than your site root, let's say it's set to the desktop by default, the only thing you have to do is click on Site Root. As long as you've defined your site correctly, that'll save to the right spot. And you're going to call this index.html. And go ahead and hit Save. Alright, so when you do that, on the right hand side, now you see an index file show up next to your Images folder. So we've done everything correctly so far. We have a basic table, it's laid out, we're going to fill it with a real banner and real navigation bar and then real content in the future. So everything's saved, we're good to go. Now we're going to kick over to our web browser, and in our web browser, I'm already logged into Blackboard. under week 7, actually under week 8 as well, so I can go to either of those weeks. The very bottom is an item called navbar example PSD. So what I want you to do is to right click on that file or that link. Depending on which web browser you use, you might see an option that says save link as or download linked file, something along those lines. So go ahead and choose save link as. I'm using Firefox, by the way. So in Firefox, the option is save link as. And I'm going to save that to my desktop. I do not want to save it in the same location as the rest of the site because it's a development file. So I might just save it out in the open on the desktop instead of the actual site, since I will not be submitting this when I actually do submit the site, or I will get docked -5 points. So straight to the desktop, I'm just going to hit save. Perfect. And then second, I've already opened this image up, but I would go to the discussion board, view one of the other students' submitted banners, and then download that banner. So I've got the banner already open here. I'm going to just go ahead and right click on it, and I get the same option, save image as. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And this is going to be saved inside of my site, so I'm going to double click inside of the site, and then obviously inside of the images folder itself. So I might just rename this so that it says banner, something simple, and hit save. Okay, now that I've done that, I'm ready to go back to Dreamweaver, so I can minimize this. And if I do not see my image there by default, I can just hit that little tiny refresh icon. So let me go ahead and click on that. And as soon as I do that, the folder now has a little triangle next to it, and I can expand that. So I see the banner image is in fact there. Since I have my placeholder already in the middle of the page, I can just double click on that placeholder, and that will give me the Finder window here. It automatically is mapped to the images folder since we did that previously, and I see banner waiting there for me. I'm just going to hit choose. The file already exists, you sure? Okay. Alright, so as soon as you do that, your banner image then will replace the placeholder image which we put over there a moment ago. Nothing else has changed on the page. The only thing is that we've added a real banner instead of our fake banner. I'm just going to go ahead and save this page. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is add Basic Css. So on the right hand side, there is no CSS currently defined for this site. I'm going to click on New CSS Rule. Okay, the CSS that I'm going to add is going to be to modify the table and maybe add a background color to the page as well. So I'm going to choose a tag in this case. Okay, I'm going to start with the table tag. Where is the table tag? There we go. Okay, so table. And we do not want to define it in this document only. This is going to be for a site, so we're going to choose New External Style Sheet File. Go ahead and click on that, and then hit OK. Alright, so since we don't have a CSS file defined yet, we have to name it. So I'm going to call mine _css.css. And it's going to save that to the root of the site, and if it's not, again, for any reason, let's say it's saving it or trying to save it to the desktop, then you could just click on Site Root, and then it would automatically point you to the root of your site. I'll go ahead and click on the Save button. Okay, so I'm ready to add different categories or different styles of CSS here. If this is a table that I'm modifying, I might change the background color to, let's see, I can choose any color, by the way. So let's say I choose green, I could hit apply, and that doesn't really work too well. I would keep experimenting until I found a color that might work a little bit better. In this case, I'm just going to choose white, and then I'll hit apply. The next thing I'm going to do is add a border to this table. By the way, the reason I chose a white background for the table is because in just a moment I'm going to change the background for the entire file or the entire page. So if I don't define a color for the table, for the background of the table, then it's going to show whatever the background color is for the entire site. Okay, I'm going to click on the border category on the left hand side, and where it says style, I'm probably going to choose a solid border. You can choose whatever you want. Go ahead and hit apply. You can see what that might look like. Width, I'll go ahead and add a thick width and hit apply. This really depends on the site that you're working for. So this is, my site is designed for kids. So bigger and better and easier to read is probably going to work better in my case than thin. So the audience really is going to define the way that you stylize your site here. And then lastly, color. What color do I want my site to be? I'm just going to go ahead and choose the color which is already existing in this image. Click on that and hit apply. Okay, so now the overall table border is the same exact color that I pulled from the banner image. I'll go ahead and hit OK. Alright, now that I've done that, I'm going to add another tag, another rule, by clicking on the new CSS rule button. Okay, and it's also going to be a tag. So I told you that I'm going to change the background color. That's part of the body tag. And again, make sure that it is set to the CSS file which you recently created, not this document only. Go ahead, choose your file, and hit OK. Okay, so I said I wanted to modify the background, so I'm going to click on the background category, and then I'm going to change the background color to, let's say, if I choose, like, it could be pink. Let's circle over the pink there with the color picker, click it, and hit apply. Bam! That's pretty loud. Maybe I might not go that loud. Instead of pink, let's try the blue instead. Alright, so that's okay. It's still loud. Depending on the age group of the kids visiting this site, this might work well. I'm going to tone this down just a little bit though, so it's not so bright. By doing that, I could guess one of the 256 colors here, the index colors. I could roll over the image and choose any color from the image itself, or I could click on this little tiny color wheel here. So the benefit of me clicking on the color wheel is that I can get the exact color that I already have as the background and just lighten it up or darken it up really easily here. So I'm going to bring that little where it is right now. I'm going to click a little bit closer to the middle. So it's going to add a lot of white to that color. And you see as I do that, the color lightens up. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK and then apply. Okay, so this is definitely a softer look than the bright blue that I had just a moment ago. This works okay for the site, so I'm going to just go ahead and accept that and hit OK. Alright, so at this point I've created a new home page. I've added a title to the page. I've inserted a placeholder image, downloaded the real image, swapped that out. I put in some fake content here. The row for the navigation bar I've left completely empty for now. And then lastly, I've applied CSS. So the CSS that I've applied specifically is tags for the table and tags for the body. Okay, in the next tutorial, we'll actually create that navigation bar.